Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a educational advocate as well as award-winning author, no other than Mr. Carew Papritz.
Yes. Hello.
Welcome, Mr.
Thank you, Daniel.
Carew.
It's great to be on your show.
Yes, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah. So I'm an author. I'm a filmmaker. Like I said, educational advocate. I definitely do a lot with getting kids to read. I try to do that on a local, regional, and national level. Level. And what else? Just enjoy doing anything that's reading and creative. I also helped create National Thank You Letter Day, which is coming up in November, which is National Thank You Letter Month. And for that, we did the world's largest handwritten thank you letter stamp and envelope, and we promote the writing of thank you letters. And so that's another thing that we love to do.
Mr. Carew Papritz, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the
Thank
world.
you.
Hoping for more and more empowering legacy to come. And today, let's talk about, of course, the legacy or the legacy letters. Why did you choose to tell the story through letters, Mr. Carew?
Well, it's interesting. I wrote this particular book. I'd written several books beforehand, but I took a relatively long hiatus, and then decided that it was time to have what I call a midlife crisis. If you're going to have a midlife crisis, have it early. I think those are the best kind. And ended up working on a ranch out in southern Arizona. I sort of going back to my roots. My granddad had a ranch, and so I took basically. Um, I started this Walden Pond year where I was completely by myself, working as a cowboy, and I picked up the. I started writing these letters, and it became a sort of an exploration into this time period of my life where I wanted to say these things to a child or children that I would never live to see. And so the central idea behind it was writing sort of intimate letters of life and how to live life to these children. Again, I would never live to see. And so this becomes sort of a love story of life. And why I found that these letters were very powerful was that not only the intimate, but they're very the way that you when you write them, it's very honest. It's very to yourself.
Very, very honest for sure. Honesty is the best policy, people. So, can you share one short lesson from the book?
Ooh, well, I look at this. I have several of these marked. I thought I might share a couple of different paragraphs or from the. There's one that's called "Starting the Day," and realize that this particular book is about 70 of the over 200 letters that this father left behind. Again, a fictional book, but the setup was that the father left behind these letters and gave it to the children on their 10th birthday. They grew up with these letters and decided to give these letters 70 some odd letters to the world. And so this is the start of one of these letters. So this is called Starting the Day. And it says, sometimes we make being happy so difficult and being thankful such a chore. Starting the day like a job we hate, beginning it like swallowing 10 tablespoons of devil made cough syrup. Because somehow along the way, we forget that being alive and healthy and happy are noble goals or just good ideas. And that the opposite of being alive is being dead. What a choice. So open the day like a Christmas present waiting, or a puppy needing petting, or a new kiss a wanting. Open the back door, step out onto the porch, and greedily suck in some new air from this day It's free, and there's lots of it. Start the day with a brand new good morning to your husband or your wife, to your kids, to those you work with and don't work with. What's the harm? How difficult how difficult is it? And it isn't, and you know it. So do it and make it a habit. As hokey as it may sound, you have it good. You just have to remember how good.
Why is wisdom in the legacy letters more important than ever?
Daniel, I think that in this day and age and time, um, that being both grounded and hopeful is more needed than ever. There's a great line about what is great poetry, and great poetry is about being in the earth and being in the stars at the same time. So I think there's an element of that we all want. We want to be hopeful. We want others to be hopeful, and at the same time being grounded. And so I think that's sort of the conundrum that we're in, especially nowadays, when we're feeling that there's so many modern day pressures, that life is faster than ever, that there's outside political pressures that feel like the world is sort of maybe a hell in a handbasket type of feeling, or there's a lot of negative energy in the world. So for want of a better word, it's not a together feeling, it's a disparate feeling. And that's why a book such as this is both hopeful and grounded simultaneously.
Hopeful and grounded. I like that, Mr. Carew.
Now,
Do you have a favorite letter and why?
ooh, yes. Well, I have to tell you an interesting story. So I wrote these letters completely out of order, and then I put them together in the order and I sort of filled them in, which gives you the feeling of the last 7 months of this man's life. And again, for those that haven't read much about this or don't know about it, he basically goes away to a cabin in isolation and writes these letters, and again gives it to the children. He leaves behind the letters to give to the children on their 10th birthday. So in writing these letters out of order, I took many years and would write pieces of quote unquote wisdom. I would put them in a file. I'd come back to them over time and time again. And as a result, not only was the book written out of order, but when I got to the end of it, and I have to tell everyone here, I had never had a child. So here I am writing these letters to these children. I had a son. And the last letter that I was working on was called what's it called? 1 second. I've got to remember what the last, here it is. This is On My Boy Becoming a Man.
Mhm.
And it was fascinating because every letter in this book had to have this emotional sweet spot, this place where I would want to read it. And as a consequence, I would want anyone else to read it. So it had to really draw you in. And so I was having trouble with this particular letter. I couldn't get the sweet spot on it. And so my son is up on the table in a little bassinet or whatever. And I turn to him and I say, look, I'm having trouble with this letter. Can you help me out with this? And you know what he said? And I thought, oh, that's nice. And then all of a sudden, I realized he was saying, please write the letter to me. And that's what I did. And that is that letter written directly to him. And if I could, I'd like to read a particular section from it.
Go ahead, Mister.
All right. So this is called On My Boy Becoming a Man. And this is one small paragraph from it. And what type of man should you be, my son? A good man. Above all else, strive to be a good man. And you do not become a good man overnight, much like a big, solid Douglas fir. You must learn to withstand all manner of wind, rain, lightning, sun, and even fire, year after year after year, and still stand tall and true. A good man in your papa's book is a great man, one who constantly strives to be the best of men to himself and to others, because the world can never have enough good men. And what makes a good man, my son? A good man is being fair in both your words and your actions. When you admit being wrong and then right that wrong. A good man knows when he's been humbled and learns from his humility. Being a good man means to speak with sincerity and love with certainty. A good man will try to act wisely by thinking first and then acting. A good man tells the truth. A good man lives for the joy in life and the happiness of being alive, not shackled to the want of the future or the regrets of the past.
Interesting indeed, and thank you for sharing for that, Mr.
Thank you.
Guru. And how have people viewed the book has touched their lives?
Well, this is an interesting one. I've found I was very fortunate to have been able to do a number of book signings all over the United States and abroad. So, and that's a great gift to be given. But one of the things I discovered was how the people were reacting to the book. And I'll tell a short story. I was at a Barnes and Noble, and one day, and there was hardly anyone in the store. There was a mother and the son was, I guess, around 12 or 13 or 14. And I said, hey, please come on over. And it's always scary for people to approach the author unless they love that book or whatever the case is. Come on over, meet the scary author. I said, please, oh, please. So they came over, and they said, tell me about your book. And I told them about it. And she says, well, that sounds interesting. And I says, oh, let me pull the interesting knife out of my back. And I said, look, I'm going to guarantee this book. And she says, how can you guarantee a book? I said, if you read one page of this book, you'll turn to the next page, or else I'll give you your money back. And you haven't even bought the book. And I turned to the son, of course, who was on his cell phone. And I said, I want you to read it too. So sure enough, they get the book. And the mother starts reading it. She reads a couple of pages, which I was shocked. And she says, I'll take 2. Oh, I couldn't believe it. So she decides to go over to the cashier, buy the book, and I was going to come back and sign it. And there's the boy still reading. And I said, I have to ask you something and to interrupt you, but can you please tell me why you're reading the book? And he turns to me with this sort of angelic face of truthfulness. And he says, I don't have a father. I wish the guy in this book was my dad. And to this day, it still chokes me up. And from there on out, I realized I wasn't an author anymore. I was sort of a messenger to people who would read this book. And time again, I would do this very same thing. I would say to people, go ahead and turn to any page in this book, and you'll discover the part of the book that you need to have. And it was fascinating because over and over and over again, there'd be examples of this, and people would be moved to tears. They'd be uplifted, or whatever the case was. I was stunned by the way it worked. And so that's one example of the way that people have been touched by this book.
Mr. Carew, what do you hope people feel after finish reading the legacy letters?
What do they feel after reading the legacy letters? Well, I hope they feel moved. I think any author would love that. I would hope that they would say to me, I want to read this again. And I would hope they would say, I want to pass this on to other people. I literally just had a gentleman the other day say to me, I have given this book to, what did he say? He said 3 or 4 other dads. And talk about the greatest compliment one can have, not only as an author, but as a person who wants to get this message out about creating legacy and the importance, not just of creating it, but the idea that you want to pass on the message of whatever it is that you want to pass on to other people, and the way that you want to pass it on. And I think that's very, very powerful.
Powerful indeed. And where can people buy your The legacy letters,
Where
Mr.
can they
Carew.
buy it? Let me see.
Yes.
Where can they buy it? Well, I'm hoping that they can buy it from any local bookstore. Bookstores I love to support, but I guess the big beast in the room is Amazon. Probably the easiest way to get it is on Amazon. Um, but again, if even if your local bookstore doesn't carry it, go ahead and ask them, and they can get it. And again, we I love supporting any local bookstore anywhere on the planet.
Anywhere in the planet for
Anywhere on the
sure.
planet.
Even in planet Mercury.
Yes, that would be great.
Definitely. So, Mr. Carew, as an author or award winning author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh, I'm doing also short term. I'm doing lots of I'm writing op-eds, which has really been interesting. I had one the other day in the Chicago Tribune. If I can pat myself on the back, because that was a big get. Um, and on any variety of subjects. So that's been a real challenge to my writing skills. Um, Long term, I'll be bringing out the larger book, or what I call the big book, which is all 200 letters of the legacy letters complete. Again, that book is done. It's just been waiting to come out. And we had a little interruption in there called the pandemic. So that put things on hold. But we're looking at hopefully within the next year to be able to bring that out. Also working on a couple of screenplays at the moment. So, I keep myself creatively active. There's never a dull moment when you're writing and bringing the message out to people about how to create and how to be creative.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Carew, and looking forward for more success. And
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it, and likewise to your podcast.
thank you so much. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Be like me. I think the most of anything, I think it's the passion you have of anything that you do in life, right? I mean, are you passionate about the work that you do, the interviewing? I mean, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, 5 years.
5 years. And you wouldn't do this unless you love doing it. And
Yes.
I think that says it all, right? If you
Yes.
don't love the thing, and granted, it doesn't have to be a thing that brings you a ton of money. So many times it's not, but it's this thing that gives you great joy. And let's be real about this. Happiness is really underrated. We need to overrate it more. We need to have more happiness in the world. And however that may look, and it doesn't have to be this giant thing. It doesn't have to be, I mean, it can be as simple as, hey, every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to be, I'm going to bring some level of joy to the world, whatever that may look like. It can be as simple as saying hello to people, but to yourself, I think it is literally spreading as much civility, as much kindness, and as much passion to the thing that you may do. And I'll tell you an interesting story. One time, on this interview, this person asked me about regrets, and I said, you know what? I said, let's do the regret test. And I was making it up out of whole cloth. I said, and what's a regret test? And I said, well, let's pretend that we're 85 years old and looking back on life and saying, what did I do or not do that I wish I had done differently? It was fascinating. And ever since then, I've been doing this regret test, at certain opportunities. So for those of you that will do it, just take the regret test. Go out there and say, I was with this person maybe I didn't want to be with, or I should have asked that person out, or I should have done this one thing I always wanted to do but never did it because money got in the way or this got in the way. I mean, there's so many excuses that we give over and over and over again. So I think the idea of taking this regret test and saying, what is it right now that I want to do or I want to plan to do? And then you do it, right? Instead of waiting until you're 85 going, I wish I'd done that. I wish. No, I don't want to hear I wish. I want to hear I'm doing this. So I think that's one of the biggest motivators in my life. Like, I can't wait to get up and start the day anew, like starting the day and say, what can I take on next?
Well, thank you for that advice, Mr. Carew. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
I just the famous question, what's your favorite book almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love For Whom the Bell Tolls. It is such a beautiful and powerfully written book. And for those of you that don't know the book, it's Ernest Hemingway. And I have reread that book. I reread it about once every 5 years, just almost like a joyful thing. And I find that every 5 years, I am at a different part of my life. And it's if I'm looking in the mirror over and over again. Just a fascinating, but there's other books, of course. But if I had to name one book that I would reread over and over, oh, besides the legacy letters, okay, let's be real. But yes, For
Beside.
Whom the Bell Tolls, yeah. And to be honest, to everyone here, I have reread the legacy letters, and I find that fascinating because I am looking in a mirror that no longer exists. I have grown since that book, but reading back on that time, it's fascinating. And I'll be honest, I feel like the writing holds up, which is one of the key things as a writer. You hope that your writing doesn't age. You hope it's still as relevant as ever.
Thank you for that advice and recommended book, Mr. Carew. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. I'm a book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season. I'm a food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season. And my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in third season. And movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season. And science 101 and sex 101 in its
Oh,
first season.
Daniel,
Looking
I want to do love letters and I want to do sex. Please interview me there.
Yes, please.
I'm
I'm
done.
happy to do so, Mr. Carew. Please do
Uh,
book. Please do book with the similar link that I have on Padmats.
you
But
got it.
yes, I'm looking forward for our episode on love letters and sex
Woo!
101.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Carew, why is storytelling, as you done so powerfully here, such effective way to pass on wisdom from one generation to the next?
Oh, let's think about what that entails. So, storytelling is as old as sitting around a fire. And when you pass on knowledge, it's the same idea of sitting around a fire, and it's thousands and thousands of years old, and people come together, and it's the wisdom literally of taking this time out, and you tell the story of, hey, I there's the old bear up in the cave, whatever it may be, and if you go up there, this might happen or this might happen, and that's your passing on knowledge, you're passing on wisdom. What's fascinating, Daniel, is
Mm,
if you are in an audience of people, and I've been in front of many audiences in my time, and if you say to somebody, you say to them, I want to tell you a short story. And you know what they do? They settle in
yes.
as almost as they're just waiting for to receive this wisdom or this tale. And that idea is as old as, we'll look at one of the great and classic books, the Bible. you
Mm,
know
yes.
that's there it is. That's one. You look at any, or Shakespeare's another one, or whatever you want, but the idea of sitting around and receiving wisdom through the form of a story, because when you finger wag, when you go, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, everyone goes, oh, I don't want to hear it. But when you tell it through the guise of a story, and the it's numerous example. You could go from Dr. Seuss to the Grimm, the fairy tales of yesteryear, the Grimm brothers, and it just goes on and on and on, telling the the telling and passing on wisdom through a story format is so classic, and we all learn it and we all want to learn that way. And that's one of the biggest factors of why I believe the legacy letters is so strong and so powerful, because that's what it does. It tells this wisdom through stories.
Yes, wisdom through stories, Mr. Carew Papritz. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Yes, and looking forward for our second and third episodes. And can you please invite our listeners to support the legacy letters?
Yes, take a look at thelegacyletters.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook under Carew Papritz. And of course, we always love being supported by being able to buy a book. So thanks again, guys.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Carew Papritz, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering legacy like this to come. So, Mr. Carew, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.